We are here at this event to celebrate the 10 years of the Boniuk Institute. This is our year of our 10-year anniversary.
I'm grateful that Rice has a presence on campus and in Houston dedicated to the study of religion and religious tolerance. It's important to have a space where these topics can be discussed openly, and the Boniuk Institute provides that safe space. One of my goals is to really grow the scholarship and research and innovation coming from the university. And this is one of our institutes at Rice, one of the very important institutes for the work that they do. And I'm really excited to see the great research that comes out of it, the innovation that comes out of it, and how it will lead to change.
We're humbled and delighted by those who are here to support the Boniuk Institute mission, what the Institute has accomplished and what we can celebrate, and really take all of that into the next decade.
My name is Kirby Goff. I'm your MC. During the day, I'm the Associate Director of Research for the Boniuk Institute. I'd like to formally welcome you to the Boniuk Institute's 10th anniversary. We're calling this the Future of Religious Pluralism, setting an agenda for the next 10 years of research. We're really grateful to have you join us. Now, I have the honor of introducing you to the Institute's director, Professor Elaine Howard-Eklund. First, I want to say a couple things about Professor Eklund. She is the Herbert S. Autry Chair in Social Sciences, Professor of Sociology, and Director of the Boniuk Institute here at Rice University. Her research examines how people use religion, gender, race, and immigrant identities to bring changes to religious and scientific institutions. She's author of 8 books, including the recent Double-Edged Sword of Religion in a Changing Workplace, which will be published by Oxford University Press next year. And she and her team have published over 150 research articles. She's also past president of the Society for the Scientific Study of Religion and is current president of the Religious Research Association. She's also a fellow of the International Society for Science and Religion. In 2013, she won the Duncan Award for Achievement here at Rice University. In 2018, she gave the prestigious Gifford Lecture Awards at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. And just this past year, Professor Eklund also received Rice's Presidential Mentoring Award. Now, I will say this is quite the list. And we're fortunate that Professor Eklund is bringing all of this expertise to her visionary leadership of the Boniuk Institute. In a few moments, Professor Eklund will lay out her vision for forming a premier interdisciplinary institute here at Rice University. The vision that she has, which is to understand the conditions which lead to religious tolerance or intolerance, discrimination or acceptance, conflict or collaboration, this is one of the most importantly scholarly pursuits of our time. And Professor Eklund is just the person to lead us here. So with that, please join me in welcoming Professor Elaine Howard-Eklund.
It's now my great privilege to introduce Rice University's 8th president, Reginald DesRoches. As president, President DesRoches is the chief executive officer of the university and its 8,200 plus students, 8 schools, and more than 900 faculty, of which I'm proud to be one. He also serves as a professor of civil and environmental engineering and professor of mechanical engineering. He previously served as Rice's Howard Hughes Provost and William and Stephanie Sick Dean of Engineering. DesRoches' top priorities as president are to enable Rice to reach a new level of distinction nationally and internationally for impactful research, award-winning scholarship, and insightful creative work. He also wants to build graduate programs that are of the same distinction as Rice University's top-rated undergraduate programs, while maintaining Rice's strong commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. DesRoches served as the key technical leader in the United States response to the 2010 Haiti earthquake, taking a team of 28 engineers, architects, city planners, and social scientists to study the impact of the earthquake. He also has participated in numerous congressional briefings to underscore the critical role that university research must play in addressing the country's failing infrastructure and enhancing the nation's resilience to natural hazards. DesRoches is a member of the prestigious National Academy of Engineering, the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and is a fellow of the American Society of Civil Engineers and the Structural Engineering Institute. DeRoche is also a member of the Academy of Distinguished Alumni in Civil Engineering at Berkeley and was recently named an honorary alumnus of Georgia Tech. DeRoche was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and grew up in Queens, New York. He earned his Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, a Master of Science in Civil Engineering, and a doctorate in Structural Engineering at the University of California, Berkeley. He's been incredibly supportive of the Boniuk Institute and of me as well, and I'm deeply grateful. Thank you.
The Boniuk Institute for the Study and Advancement of Religious Tolerance was founded in 2013 with the generous support of Dr. Milton and Miss Lori Boniuk, who are here with us tonight. Thank you, Milton and Lori, for your ongoing support. Rice is grateful to have you as a partner in all our efforts to make the world a better and more tolerable place. And I understand there are 4 generations of Boniuks in this room tonight. We welcome all of you here. Thank you for being here. And many thanks to my predecessor, David Lebron, who's here with his wife, Ping, for cultivating the Institute and for fostering its incredible growth over the past 10 years. Please join me in thanking David. Over the past decade, the Boniuk Institute has made great strides in developing community partners and educating people on the importance of religious tolerance and religious pluralism. Moving forward, the Boniuk Institute will elevate its role as a premier interdisciplinary research and scholarly institute where research and scholarship inform its outreach. Strong research and scholarship are what spark ideas, innovation, and ultimately change. Rice's institutes are ideal places for this type of work and for people outside the hedges to come to for expertise and partnership. Elaine became the leader of the Boniuk Institute a little bit over a year ago and has hit the ground running. I recall my conversation with Elaine when we were discussing her leadership of the Institute. And for those of you who know Elaine, she came with about 100 pages of questions, and I felt like I was being interviewed during that time, but everybody knows she's just incredibly talented, incredibly organized, and we are really, truly honored to have you as its leader. Elaine will talk more about the strategic plan that she's developing for the Boniuk Institute in a few minutes. The plan will help broaden the work of the Institute and leverage its unique intellectual space and strong and growing reputation. What the plan will not do is change the core purpose of the Institute, which is the study and promotion of religious tolerance and religious pluralism. Religion and religious tolerance affects all sectors of society, from politics and science to the environment and healthcare. As the president of Rice, I am dedicated to investing in and supporting multidisciplinary scholarship and research focused on finding solutions to some of the world's most challenging problems. The role of religion and religion tolerance in ending religious discrimination certainly falls into this category. At Rice, we strive to be a safe place to talk about all ideas and viewpoints. It is crucial to create an environment where people are not afraid to express their views, even if they are unpopular or controversial. The Boniuk Institute is one of Rice's safe spaces when it comes to religious tolerance and religious pluralism. I look forward to seeing the research and the scholarship that comes out of the Boniuk Institute in the coming years and the profound impact that it will have on Rice and the world. Thank you.
Religion's ability to separate us or bring us together is one of, if not the central issues of our time. And yet, we still do not fully understand why and how religion sometimes divides and sometimes unites. The Boniuk Institute for the Study and Advancement of Religious Tolerance is poised to fill this gap by investigating religious pluralism and tolerance for the next decade. Housed here on our own Rice University campus, the Boniuk Institute is a premier interdisciplinary research and scholarly institute that aims to understand the conditions that lead to religious pluralism and tolerance, as well as the conditions that lead to intolerance, conflict, and discrimination, and then help people apply its findings in their lives and their communities. I am so grateful for the path-breaking vision and generosity of Dr. Milton and Mrs. Lori Boniuk. Indeed, we are here to celebrate. And for the past 10 years, the Institute has led the way in advancing religious tolerance in Houston and beyond. On your tables, you'll find a beautiful commemorative booklet marking our 10-year anniversary. I want to add to the list of thanks that's been started by others. I'm deeply grateful for the historian Paula Sanders, who has capably led the Institute for the past number of years. We walk in her footsteps. And to Don Morrison, who was one of the first leaders of the Institute and is a professor in the philosophy department. I'd also like to thank, again, Rice University President Reggie DeRoche, who is joined by Paula Gilmer DeRoche, who's a healthcare leader. I also want to thank Provost Dittmar and Vice President of Research Ramesh, who provided critical support in establishing the Institute's vision and strategy for this next season of groundbreaking research. They have been so instrumental to our strategic planning process over the past year. And I am very grateful to David Libran and Ping Sun, past president and university representative of Rice University, whose leadership paved the way for the Boniuk Institute. Thank you. And two final notes of thanks. I want to thank the staff of the Boniuk Institute, who've been through a lot with me in the past year, most recently some very difficult loss, and without whom very little would get done, including our event tonight. And I want to thank Kate Eubanks, who has organized most of what you've experienced tonight, along with Haley Hemstreet, Ashwarya Lakshmi, Jessica McVeigh, Rachel Schneider, and Kirby Goff. Please join me in thanking them. And I would be deeply remiss if I did not thank my husband, Carl Eklund, a Rice University professor of physics and astronomy, and our daughter, Annika. Religion has been a central source of violent conflict in the world, from international clashes over religion in Northern Ireland, Bosnia, and the Sudan, to recent attacks on our own shores, on mosques and synagogues and churches here in the US. There are plenty of examples of religious violence and strife. And religion has been a central source of peacemaking. I think of the role of Black church leaders in the American civil rights movement, and I think of the influence of Jainism and Hinduism on the nonviolent activism of Mahatma Gandhi. Scholars have been understandably interested in how conflicts around the world are linked to religion. And yet, we know little about what happens upstream, leading religion to be a source of division or of harmony. It's a critical goal that within a world-class institution like Rice University, there is groundbreaking research on both religious violence and conflict, as well as pluralism and tolerance. In pursuit of this goal, it's important to have a clear answer to the question, why study religious tolerance and pluralism, and what will we gain from these pursuits? In response, I want to make three main points. So first, most of the world is religious, and far too often religious difference contributes to conflict. Recent research shows that 88% of the world's population identify with some religious tradition. Muslims, Christians, Hindus, and Buddhists together make up 75% of the world's population, and this is expected to rise to 86% by 2050. Religion-based discrimination at the personal level is a significant problem. In a recent national study that we did, we found that over 1/4 of all Americans report sensing hostility due to their religion. When looking at it by religion, the results are stark for some groups. For example, 62% of American Muslims report sensing hostility from others due to their religion. We also found that 36% of Jewish respondents and over 20% of Christians and of Buddhists also report religious hostility. In fact, 32% of those with no religion report experiencing hostility for not having a religion. And religious conflict at the societal level is also a major problem. A recent report shows that in 1975, religion was a factor in only 2% of global violent conflicts. But by 2013, religion was a factor in over 50% of global violent conflict. The authors of the report suggest that most of the research and peace-building work ignores religion altogether or sees religion only having potential to be part of the problem, which it sometimes indeed is, without examining its potential for peace-building. My second point. We still know little about why religion sometimes brings us together and sometimes so profoundly separates us. Religion has lent significant moral support to both humanitarian and human rights movements during the past century. Many of the world's religions have important teachings on tolerance, as you heard from the religious leaders from our video. The golden rule, do to others as you would have them do to you, can be found in some version across major faith traditions. What's missing, though, in our understanding is why these teachings sometimes take hold and sometimes do not. For example, research shows that religion does help people become more generous and hospitable, but these positive effects sometimes are only extended to those within their own group. On the one hand, much of the research on religious conflict and discrimination is focused on the negative effects of religion. Some suggest that religious conflict and difference will become only more intractable and violent in the coming decades. It is important to understand fundamental religious and cultural difference, but this approach leaves little hope for bridging what divides us. On the other hand, much of the very good interfaith work done focuses on similarities across religious traditions, and yet minimizing difference isn't always helpful. It can sometimes undermine the kind of convicted civil debate that leads people to change their minds or to grow intellectually and personally. Finally, there is great research on religious freedom, but it tends to focus on one religious tradition or is heavily vested in government policy and programs without considering other sectors and institutions. Clearly, there is a huge gap in our understanding of the conditions and practices which facilitate religious pluralism and tolerance, and we aim to fill that gap. See how I snuck in several subpoints there? My third main point is that whether or not you are personally religious, it is important for you to understand, important for all of us really, to understand how religion relates to societal health. What helps communities work across religious boundaries to solve common social problems? For instance, we gathered at the Boniuk Institute a group of influential religious leaders in Houston, and many reflected with a kind of sadness, actually, on the critical role that interfaith collaboration played in Hurricane Harvey and the relief efforts, and how they actually got to know religious leaders outside their own tradition, and even those they didn't know within their own tradition. But they expressed concern that this kind of collaboration seems to have diminished in recent years, particularly during the pandemic. Religious communities, according to these leaders, seem more isolated from each other as they struggle with issues like declining attendance and mental health struggles among their members. While the hurricane brought groups together, the pandemic seems to have divided. We need research on that. Understanding these dynamics is critical, not only for religious pluralism and tolerance in Houston, but also for understanding other contexts around the world. In response to these needs and opportunities, the Boniuk Institute is poised to set the agenda for research on religious pluralism and tolerance for the next decade. Over the past year, we have undertaken an extensive strategic planning process involving input from the Institute's constituents and an external review committee. This process has been informed by our external advisory board, our faculty advisory board, many of whom are here tonight, as well as Rice's presidents, provosts, vice president of research, and vice provost of academic affairs offices. We have developed 3 planks to advance our mission over the next years. These 3 planks are convene, discover, and disseminate. Our first plank is to convene faculty, advisors, and students across disciplines and sectors who learn from and embody the Boniuk Institute mission. One of the university's highest and best goals is to convene unlikely conversation partners in a safe and intellectually productive space. To pursue this convening goal, we have expanded opportunities to host scholars from Rice and around the world. Importantly, involving and developing the next generation takes center stage in the Boniuk Institute mission. Dr. Boniuk and Mrs. Boniuk have the hearts of teachers and mentors, and we are involving students in everything we do. Just a couple of examples of what we are now doing under our new strategic plan. We're expanding involvement of students in our new weekly Reading Religion Salon and Religion and Public Life Program Scholars Meeting, which provides opportunity for rich dialogue and training. We're starting a year-long scholarship program for PhD students and research opportunities for undergraduate students, some of whom are with us tonight. Could you raise your hand if you're a student, a graduate student, or an undergrad? It's worth mentioning that over this past year, we've been honored to have members of our own Department of Religion serve on our Faculty Advisory Board, and Department of Religion graduate students and faculty contribute to our scholarship and mentoring of students. Deep thanks to the Department of Religion. Thank you. Discover is our second plank. We will discover new knowledge about religious pluralism and tolerance, as well as conflict and discrimination through innovative and robust research. We have ambitious goals for discovery. Over the next 5 years, we aim to raise $15 million in grants and gifts to fund our research and outreach programs. Here are 2 of our initiatives. First, we're now raising funds to examine the causes and consequences of religious violence, conflict, and discrimination around the world, as well as the causes and consequences of religious diversity and pluralism around the world. We will examine the national context where there is the most conflict and the context where there is the least. And within these national contexts, we will compare how religious pluralism, diversity, and conflict operate in different institutions like science, medicine, education, and government, among others. Second, closer to home, we are now wanting to discover the civic capacity of Houston's religious communities and what issues Houston's religious communities most care about. We want to discover how to help them be more effective in their civic capacity, whether it's addressing poverty or homelessness or racial and religious discrimination. We aim to provide the most comprehensive picture of Houston's religious communities ever attempted, and we will expand our understanding of religious pluralism in Houston and other similar global cities. Furthermore, via our outreach programs, we will put this research in the hands of Houston's religious and civic leaders so that they can work together to serve Houston's most vulnerable populations. We are also planning to launch centers within the Institute and partner more deliberately with other centers at Rice University. The first of which is the transition of the Religion and Public Life program, which I founded in 2011 and is now led by religion scholar Rachel Schneider, into a Boniuk Institute center. Here we use research on religion to build common ground for the common good. In the next year, we're also planning to launch a center on religion, science, health, and the environment, where we will explore and convene around the topic of how different religious traditions approach science, from topics related to the planets and the universe to those involving health and our bodies. Religion matters in all of these. We're also working very deliberately to team with other centers at Rice University, our Jewish Studies program, our Religion and Public Policy program at the Baker Institute, and other centers of excellence at Rice. Our third plank is to disseminate a robust set of outreach products that are fed by and amplify Boniuk Institute research and scholarship. We will expand our popular podcast, Religion Unmuted, to help us understand how religion shows up in unlikely places. We will grow our teacher professional development workshops, where we train high school and middle school teachers in Houston and beyond in religious literacy and understanding. And we will continue and expand the Religion and Public Life program's very successful religious and civic leader gatherings, where we bring religious leaders together in a home or on campus with civic leaders and academics to discuss the relevance of research on religion to their efforts. And we will continue to highlight all we do on our website, in our newsletter, and on social media. You're probably tired of hearing from me, but we're going to keep going. In closing, I want to illustrate the need for research that is relevant and accessible to solve society's most pressing problems. Often we look at the problems right in the water in front of us because they feel most pressing, and they probably are often. But the best research helps us to look upstream at the source of those problems and bring those insights downstream so that our efforts can become more effective. It's simply not enough to identify and address problems as they come up. We need to get to the source and connect others to the knowledge found there. That is a very special mission of the university and what the Boniuk Institute at Rice University is about. Our institute has a unique opportunity to become even more of the premier research and scholarly institute devoted to understanding tolerance, pluralism, conflict, and discrimination. But we cannot do this alone. The Boniuk Institute relies on a network of people and institutions represented by many of you in this room. Our mission is supported by a world-class university, the generosity of those who help fund our programs and the foundations who fund our research, and the involvement of many more in our efforts to bring research insights to the public and to explore their implications for our lives together. Some of the highest and best goals of the research university are to provide a plural and impartial intellectual space and resources to conduct research and scholarship on the most important issues of our time. There has never been a better time, and it has never been more important to bring our best research tools to bear on the issues of religious pluralism and tolerance. We are grateful for our past and look to our future in continued support of the crucial work of the Boniuk Institute. Thank you.